Whitmore Square in Adelaide CBD has long been a safe place for people experiencing homelessness, with many services based around that part of the city. But now there's a concerted push to move some of them elsewhere. A street kitchen run by the Australian Communist Party has been told it's no longer allowed to operate in the square. Party members have complained about a senior public servant who they say has tried to intimidate them, but they're not backing down. Here's this week's special report. For 2 years, every Sunday, this street kitchen has been offering food to some of Adelaide's homeless.
We've got chilli, sausage curry, pasta, potato curry, fried rice. Yeah, I'm just happy to have a range.
It started with 1 table and 3 men handing out around 30 meals, but now it's grown into a much larger operation.
We give out anywhere between 250 to 300 meals a week.
They also provide donated clothes and hygiene packs for those sleeping rough. For many of the volunteers here, it's all part of a higher calling. The kitchen flies under the flag of the Australian Communist Party, run by 17-year-old Casey McEwen.
We have never signed up or actively tried to sign up anybody who's come to the kitchen for the party at all.
We always thought of it as part of our political commitment, and it's certainly part of the glue for our organisation.
While the food's warmly welcomed by the people the volunteers serve, the kitchen's been controversial with nearby residents and business owners. It doesn't have a permit to operate, and council has told the volunteers one won't be approved for Whitmore Square, instead suggesting West Terrace.
So I think it's a positive thing to move it as long as they're still offering the service, and the parklands are a really open, peaceful space. So I think, the more space people have, the better.
Whitmore Square's undergoing gentrification, with the council and state government funding a $900,000 redevelopment.
The other day, a lady from the council came here to talk about the beautification of the square, and my response to her was, "You can't put lipstick on a pig."
Tony Stracchia says it's becoming increasingly difficult to live and own a business on the square.
I experience waking up every morning to some form of surprise, whether it be people sleeping in the foyer of my building, whether it be plants being damaged, whether it be defecation on my footpath.
In recent weeks, the soup kitchen has been visited by police and council officials who told the volunteers they need a permit to operate. Then came a visit earlier this month from a government official.
Yes, she's identified herself as Lois. She said that she was from the Department of Human Services.
Communist Party founder Bob Britton said she voiced her concerns.
Well, you are creating a problem, and I'll be using the resources at my disposal to make sure that you don't come back next week. It was fairly tense, not very pleasant exchange.
Only later did the volunteers discover that Lois was Lois Boswell, the chief executive of the department.
It feels a bit scary or monolithic, if you will, for such a high position to come down in person.
The group says she told them they were creating a dependence amongst the local homeless population.
We're there once a week. We can hardly provide a service on which people would depend.
They later wrote a letter of complaint to the Premier. Ms Boswell told the ABC she made the Sunday afternoon visit in her capacity as the chair of a new task force which has been set up to reduce antisocial and sometimes violent behaviour associated with visitors to Adelaide from remote Aboriginal communities. She said she advised the volunteers the task force had concerns that some services in the area may not be assisting vulnerable people in the way they were intended to.
In the end, I did feel that it was an effort to intimidate us so that we don't come back the following week.
The Communists have also questioned whether Ms Boswell has a conflict of interest, pointing out she lives nearby and owns a share in a pub on the square, which prides itself on its dedication to social causes.
I think that there would be a great conflict of interest, definitely.
maybe the interests of the pub and the convenience or whatever of the clientele would be better if there weren't gatherings of homeless people there.
Lois Boswell did not respond to the ABC's written questions about whether she has a conflict of interest, but in an earlier phone conversation, she says her part ownership of the pub has no impact on her roles as head of the task force and of the department. She did say at no stage has either group asked for anyone to be moved by council or SAPOL. Ms Boswell says she did not know the council had advised the group that they would need to move until now. To the volunteers and others, this location makes sense. There's a men's shelter run by Vinnie's, the Salvation Army on the corner, St Luke's Church here behind me, Anglicare SA is around the corner, and so is Baptist Care, which earlier this year was part of an alliance which won the funding to run the city's homeless services in a major shake-up of the sector.
This has been the place for homeless people in Adelaide for a long, long time. It's where they feel safe, it's where they come for their services.
I don't think we should be shunting people off as undesirable. I think we should all inhabit it together.
How would we feel if we were banished further and further away?
Other pop-up services which also operate on the square say no one's approached them to move locations.
This is fried rice and this is like a pasta bake.
The Communist Street Kitchen plans to dig in its heels.
We would prefer and would definitely defend our wanting to be in Whitmore Square.
Ready to fight for their occupation.